The Covenant fleet drops out of transit at 0611 hours, and I feel it in my chest before the deck plates confirm it, that deep, structural shudder, the whole ship adjusting to normal space. 40 years I've waited for this particular morning. I'm 68 years old, and I've spent 36 of those years as a trauma surgeon, and the 4 before that surviving something the Orreth theocracy called a purification. I have not slept. Admiral Corrin's sail finds me at the forward observation rail on deck 7, exactly where she left me the night before. She doesn't say anything at first. We watch the Orreth home system resolve on the long-range display, Amber Star, 3 inner worlds, the relay spire network catching the light like needles. 12 minutes to communication range, she says. I know, I say. She sets a data tablet on the rail beside my hand. 2,219 names. The complete roster of the Ardean Sanctuary, physicians, nurses, researchers, intake clerks, kitchen staff, one 14-year-old ward volunteer who had come with her mother. I don't need to read the list. I have carried every name on it in the order they appear for 40 years. I helped compile it. I am the only person alive who was inside that ward when the Orreth High Synod sealed the atmospheric locks. I was 28. I was a first-year resident. I heard the evacuation alert and I moved on instinct, through the maintenance corridor behind the supply annex, through a pressure lock that had been flagged for repair and therefore wasn't on the Synod's closure manifest. It sealed 2 seconds after I cleared it. I heard the system engage behind me through the wall. I sat on the other side of that wall for 11 minutes before the emergency shuttle bay cycled me out. 2,218 people did not find that corridor. The Synod called it a liturgical reclamation. The Sanctuary Accord had designated the Ardean Station, and 2 others like it, as inviolable neutral medical facilities, jointly maintained and jointly staffed, a gesture of good faith built into the original treaty framework between Earth and the Theocracy. The High Synod's Purity Council, the new council, the radicalized one that had consolidated power in the preceding decade, decided, in its collected wisdom, that the presence of human practitioners in a consecrated healing space constituted a theological contamination. They purified the space. They removed the contamination. They filed a doctrinal amendment with their own ecclesiastical registry and called the matter liturgically closed. Earth's response at the time was measured. Diplomatic. There were negotiations. There were years of negotiations. There were formal statements of deep concern and demands for accountability that produced, across 4 decades, exactly 2 apologies issued by ecclesiastical bodies that no longer held power, and a reparations framework that was never ratified. What there was not, for 40 years, was a fleet. I understand why. I'm not naive. The political cost, the risk calculus, the question of precedent, I have read every position paper, every closed session transcript that eventually became public record. I understand the machinery. I simply do not accept that the machinery was adequate. 2,218 people were sealed into a neutral medical facility by a government that had sworn to protect it, and the atmosphere was vented, and the theocracy called it a purification, and the galaxy moved on. I have not moved on. The comms officer calls out from the bridge above, Orreth Synod Relay Network, Admiral. They're hailing. Admiral Sail keys the channel open. The voice that comes through is a high cantor, one of the Synod's senior doctrinal officers. He speaks in formal Orreth, which the translation system renders in a voice stripped of all the ecclesiastical resonance the original carries, flat, procedural, which I find appropriate. He says the Covenant fleet's presence in Orreth space is unauthorized. He says it constitutes an act of aggression against a sovereign theological state. He says the Synod is prepared to issue a formal statement of clarification regarding the historical Ardean event, and invites Admiral Sail to stand down and engage in structured dialogue. Sail lets him finish. Then she says, "Hi Cantor, I'm going to read you some names. I need you to stay on this channel while I do." There is a pause. He says that is irregular protocol. She says, I know. She nods to me. I pick up the tablet and I begin. Physician of Aina Corps Physician Davin Loch. Resident Hessebrand. Nurse Practitioner Orla Fun. Nurse Practitioner Ewan Talas. Research Fellow Corveth Illes. Intake Coordinator Sarah Mowell. Kitchen Supervisor Ren Haster. I read at a steady pace. Not fast. Not slow. The pace I used, in 36 years of surgery, for reading a patient's chart aloud to a team before a procedure, the pace that means pay attention, this matters, every word is a fact. Ward volunteer Lena Priss, 14 years old. I don't stop at that name. I keep going. The high cantor says something at roughly the 400 name mark. The translation system catches it, a query about whether this exercise has a formal purpose. Admiral Sale does not respond. I keep reading. At 600 names the channel goes quiet from the Orreth side. At 900 names I hear, faintly, background movement on the relay, voices conferring. I keep reading. 2218. I stop. There is a long silence on the open channel. Admiral Sale says, that's who you purified, High Cantor. I want you to understand that the Covenant fleet knows all of their names. We will remember them after this conversation ends and you do not. She closes the channel. To her tactical officer she says, execute the sanctioned strike plan. Sequential. Civilian evacuation on the relay spires, standard window, then the reclamation hall of records last. The fleet moves. I watch it from deck 7. The Covenant fleet numbers 411 warships, and what it does to the Orreth relay network over the next 6 hours is not theatrical. It is methodical. The 3 Synod relay spires go dark in sequence, each preceded by a 60-minute civilian evacuation window, the Theocracy's own administrative workers given time to clear, and then the structural dismantlement begins, precise and complete. Not glassed. Dismantled. There is a difference, and I know Admiral Sale chose it deliberately. You glass something in rage. You dismantle something in judgment. The Reclamation Hall of Records, the building where the liturgical reclamation of the Ardean sanctuary was filed and certified and archived, comes down at 1847 hours. The last building. I watch it collapse on the tactical display, a slow folding of a structure that has stood for 200 years, and I feel almost nothing, which surprises me, and then I understand, I used up all the feeling a long time ago. What's left is just the arithmetic of what was owed and what has now been paid. At 2,100 hours the fleet reaches the Ardean sanctuary. It has been sealed and untouched for 40 years. The Theocracy never repurposed it, never demolished it. I have always thought this was because they were waiting for a moment when they could use it as a bargaining chip, and the moment never came. The exterior docking ring is intact. Sales engineers cycle the lock. The atmosphere inside is vacuum. I go in with the first team. There is no damage. That is the worst part. There is no damage. The ward where I worked my first year of residency is exactly as it was, with beds in their rows, the supply cabinet with the yellow handle I always jammed, the small window looking out toward the amber star. Everything in its place. The Synod didn't destroy the furniture or the equipment. They just removed the air. They just decided that what was inside didn't warrant air. I open my bag. I take out a folded sheet of paper, actual paper, printed. I chose it deliberately, and I set it on the intake desk. 2,218 names. The same list I read on the open channel, but this one has physician Sarah Valenne at the bottom, the 28th-year resident who found the maintenance corridor, who has been carrying the list ever since. I don't write anything else. The list is the message. We repressurize the sanctuary over the following 8 hours. By the time the fleet prepares to return, a provisional medical crew is already inbound, 14 physicians and 30 nurses, Earth-trained, volunteered within hours of the fleet's departure 40 years ago, and now, at last, cleared to arrive. I walk back to the shuttle bay through that same maintenance corridor. The pressure lock is still flagged for repair. No one ever fixed it. Admiral Sale is waiting at the top of the ramp. She doesn't ask me how I am. She's a good officer. She says, "Ready?" I say, "The sanctuary's ready." That's what matters. The shuttle bay closes behind us, and the Covenant fleet turns for home, and the amber star of the Orreth system falls away in the aft display, smaller and smaller, until it is just one light among the rest. The intake desk still has the list on it. It will be there when the first new patients arrive. That's all I ever needed.